The Common Core standards are very positive for any district in Missouri. I feel that one of the great benefits is that they are clear and concise. There are few standards, 10 for reading, 10 for writing, and the beauty is that they spiral through the grade levels in such a way that districts can use these guidelines to develop curriculum and instructional plans for students. I think that one thing that's very important is the new emphasis on the fact that writing is as important as reading. And so we have been working in our district on writing throughout the grade levels. Even in K through 2, we are using Writer's Workshop. And so based on the work of Lucy Calkins, our teachers are being trained to help kids have the skills that they need to be good writers of opinion, even in those lower grades. I believe the Common Core state standards actually have great respect for teachers. They know that it's teachers who will be determining exactly how they will take these goals, these guidelines that the standards set out, and help their students be successful in achieving the goals. They know that it's the teachers who are going to be choosing the materials best for that particular classroom with that particular community of students. And we all have communities with special student needs that we have to determine, that we have to decide what prior knowledge they have and how we can meet them where they are. So the standards definitely allow us to tailor instruction and respect our professional judgment. I think that there is an improvement also in their writing skills. I think that they are beginning to see very clearly that most of the time when they're writing a thesis to a paper, it is a claim. And it's easier for them to understand what a claim is. And then they understand too that they've got to support that claim with evidence. And so the whole idea of argument writing has really changed some of their thinking and made things very clear for them. And I do believe that there has been more engagement in the classroom because they do enjoy thinking critically about creating their own criteria if they're going to make a judgment and write about a particular issue. So I think that student learning has increased when we begin to implicate some of the goals that the standards outline. So I think one other way that I'd like to comment about is that the Common Core state standards encourage more complex texts. And so teachers are also having conversations about how they can stretch their kids a little bit more. And really the thought that comes to me is that we are more likely to differentiate when we are trying to determine just what text is best for a student. Because I heard the example given, and I think it's a good example, that if you want to be a better tennis player, then it's good to play with someone a little bit better than you. But if you play with Venus Williams, you're just going to be totally discouraged. So it's not about putting the hardest text in front of a student. It's about recognizing exactly what that student needs and then stretching them a little bit, helping them to be able to tolerate frustration, which is a great way of saying that. I think I read that as well. Help kids tolerate frustration as they learn to read a little bit more complex text. There are so many shifts that are positive. One other shift that is really important is that the literacy is shared with all of the disciplines in the high school and certainly in the middle school. And so we have teachers across the curriculum who are responsible for teaching kids to read and write. Curriculum resources that relate to the new Common Core state standards are abundant. We are very fortunate in Missouri to have a number of conversations going on within our districts, across districts, and so many resources, starting with, of course, the standards themselves have excellent appendices which supply explanations about how to work with kids in vocabulary and discuss the 3 tiers of vocabulary, discusses how you determine if a text is the right level for a student. Well, the great thing is there are so many conversations going on, I know within the high school where I work, about literacy, There are a number of times when we study books together about writing across the curriculum or about reading strategies in the history class, in the science class, and so we're having some wonderful conversations. There is a greater expectation for students to do close reading when they're reading a text. There is, within the disciplines, the use of informational text, and we're sharing strategies about how to closely read them. Then those texts are being used in discussions, and we find that the students are actually referring to the text more, using evidence from the text when they are discussing issues. So these are all wonderful changes in the way that we are actually conducting classes. These are goals that all teachers that I have worked with, and I've met a lot of teachers across the nation, respect and find to be a good set of goals for their students and expectations. We all appreciate the increased rigor that these standards bring, and so I don't think we would stop the rigor in our classrooms. I don't think that we would stop looking for the perfect text for our students and try to stretch them. I don't think we would stop the new emphasis on writing, because we know that writing is so important and actually shows what they've learned in their reading. I think that we would continue to have these short as well as sustained research projects. I think that many of the things we would still encourage literacy across the curriculum. I don't believe that if for any reason the district was told to stop implementing the standards, that we would necessarily stop the instruction that has been beneficial and effective in our classrooms.